I was adopted when I was 16 and it saved my life. These children are not adopted and they age in the foster care system by the time they're 18. On their 18th birthday, they experience Black Trash Bag Day, which means they're handed a black trash bag and they're told to put all their belongings in it. And then they're out, which 70% of the people who are homeless came out of foster care. So they're homeless, drugs, prostitution, being trafficked, another massive epidemic, and now incarcerated, costing taxpayers billions on the front end and the back end. So the solution really is getting these kids adopted. And why does this matter? I was adopted when I was 16 and it saved my life. It allowed me to graduate high school, go to college, travel the world, and then build an extraordinary life, all because I had a family that loved me and still do.
You're listening to Rise from the Ashes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to season 5 of Rise from the Ashes, Burnout to Brilliance. My next guest is nothing short of amazing. She has had her own journey through perils, tribulations, but also successes. Her name is Catherine Bell, and she joins me today from, where do you live? Because I can't remember.
Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, it's not so close to us. Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'll let her introduce herself. Catherine, please tell the world who you are, what you do, and what you're passionate about.
I love this. Well, I'm super happy to be here.
Conversations.
So who am I? So I'm Catherine Bell. I am a 3-time international bestselling author, and I have a hedge fund that we are currently in the middle of helping over 33,000 first responders and veterans get out of debt, stay out of debt, bring financial literacy. Really, it's about oxygen, bringing, money is like oxygen. The more you have, the easier it is to breathe. And the bigger the difference in the world you can make. And that's what they do. And then, of course, I have 2 nonprofits. My one nonprofit, Wealthwise Women, it's all about like really leaning in and teaching women not only how to invest, but actually bringing them the investment so that they invest. Because I tell my twins, I don't care what you know, I only care what you do. And I tell the women the same thing. And
Awesome.
because I'm clear that when women make a profit, like they pour it back into their families and communities. And so really giving women the tools and the avenues to make that happen is a really, really big deal. And then my other nonprofit is Bell Community Empowerment Foundation, which is where my passion is. That focuses on that there's over 500,000 children in the US foster care system, and 350,000 are available for adoption today. And what happens is right now, there's 2.1 million families looking to adopt, but they're unaware of this particular type of adoption. It's very specialized. If these children are not adopted and they age in the foster care system by the time they're 18, on their 18th birthday, they experience Black Trash Bag Day, which means they're handed a black trash bag and they're told to put all their belongings in it. And then they're out, which 70% of the people who are homeless came out of foster care. So they're homeless, drugs, prostitution, being trafficked, another massive epidemic, and now incarcerated, costing taxpayers billions on the front end and the back end. So the solution really is getting these kids adopted. And why does this matter? I was adopted when I was 16 and it saved my life. It allowed me to graduate high school, go to college, travel the world, and then build an extraordinary life, all because I had a family that loved me and still do. I adopted my twins, the foster care system as well. They were 4 months old when we got them. They're now 20. My son's a U.S. Marine serving over in Japan. And my daughter's 20 years old, living here in the Valley, living her best life. So that's what I'm super passionate about.
I love what you do. And when I meet people like you, the whole place glows up. It literally brightens. Because not only do you have a story, you've come from a very similar place. And that's partly what fuels you. But that fuel isn't just for now. You're actually creating impact for and legacy for much further on, training people, training women, especially because that's where your focus point is. But you also have a huge fuel and passion for kids. Can we rewind a few years? Tell people what the journey was for you personally, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born to a teenage mother in Northern Canada, and I ended up in and out of more homes than you could possibly count. I went to 13 different schools. I didn't actually learn to read until I was in the 8th grade. And I still to this day struggle with reading comprehension, which is why being a 3-time international best-selling author is nothing short of an extraordinary. Like, seriously, and this is a huge example of who, not how, right? Like, I didn't know how I was going to do this, but having an extraordinary team of people come around me who knew how to do it. They are the who that knew how. And we walked through the entire process. And I'm literally this Saturday getting ready to write another book, and I've got several more on the way. So, because again, it's when you have the people who know how, then magic truly happens. Like, I'm clear, if it wasn't for the people around me who came alongside of me and continue to come alongside of me for all the things, there's just no way that I would be where I'm at today. Like, it really is extraordinary people in my life.
But what are your books about? Because you've had an immense amount of knowledge, input, expertise come around you, but you're the gem. Your message is the star of the show. And
Yeah.
that's for everybody who comes on here. It's not about me, it's about the guests. So if you're listening to this now, just pause it. Because what you're about to hear is nothing short of miracles and gold. Because these messages change fucking lives. This is why this podcast exists. So please share it. Catherine, what is that message in some of these books? You've got 3 so far. There'll be soon to be 4, and I'm sure 5 or 6. I'm not joking. There probably will be.
No, I'm already working on 4, 5, and 6. So
I
yeah,
love it. Fucking love it. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's about a message.
it
And
really is about the message. That's what it's about. Like, and so the first one is commas to impact. And here's what it is. It's about my company, Titan Impact Group, my fund company. And because here's what I'm really clear about. So I'll share that journey, and it shares my whole journey in the book. In that I came to the United States when I was 26 years old, married my husband, and he had a dream. And we took his dream and we turned it into a multi-million-dollar company. So I was a millionaire by the time I was 30, right? The American dream, truly. And then we sold our company in 2008, 2009, the economy crashed, and my husband got sick, really, really sick, to the point where we literally lost everything and became homeless. So I had to go back to work to provide for my family and figure it out. So I was working 80 hours a week and burning the candle at both ends, taking care of my sick husband, my twins, all the things. And I knew that there's no way I could sustain this. And so I learned that the average millionaire has 7 streams of passive income. And so I needed to figure it out. So I just went to work and figuring it out. And that's when I started investing. And we did buy and hold and discovered I don't like tenants and toilets. Then did wholesaling, and it wasn't true passive income. Then I ran a program called the Flipping Females, and I partnered with women, teaching them how to invest and how to flip properties. We flipped about 500 properties. Started my first hedge fund, and it was vacation rentals. Turns out I don't like guests and toilets. And then we did residential ground up development, commercial ground up development, was doing all the things. And then in 2018, that's when my husband died very tragically. So, like, literally in a moment, my life, the way it was done. And I became a widow and a single mom, like literally in a moment. And at that point, I created 13 streams of passive income for our family. And it allowed for me to take a year off and grieve with my twins and figure out what I was going to do. And it was in that time that my company, Titan Impact Group, was born. Because what I realized in that time, that chasing money wasn't the answer. There was no feel goods about that. And so for me, I knew moving forward that anything that I did moving forward must leave every person, property, and community better than I found them. And that's how my company was born. So my company, Titan Impact Group. So Titan is like being the sentinels of the American dream. Impact is that we leave every person, property, and community better than we found them. Every project, every investment we do. And then group is that I set up all investments so that everybody can plug into my investments and create those passive streams of income while making that impact and living out their version of the American dream. So that's how my company was born. And so that is my book, Commas to Impact. And it talks more about that because I believe we can do well and do good at the same time. My second book is called Complete Wealth, because here's the deal. Going through all those decades of investing and all the things, there was a lot of pain in all of it, right? Like when I talk about I don't like tenants and toilets or guests and toilets, There's some stories behind that, and I share those stories. But the point being is that there's a completion process that I walked through. And you, Boz, you and I talked about this. Like, we've been doing personal development work for decades, right? And knowing the personal development is one thing, but actually like implementing the steps into our life such that we can take the pain and literally now use it as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. That's where it's at. And so that book literally walks people through taking the pain from bad investments, bad businesses, bad partnerships, whatever it is. And there's a process that by the time you get through the other side, you literally now have your conditions of satisfaction and are now stepping forward and springboarding from all those experiences. And then my third book is called Wealth Wise Women, and that's connected to my nonprofit. So I brought 12 other women along, extraordinary women, and who literally came from nothing and literally built up their empires from nothing into something really extraordinary in all these different asset classes and completely different walks of life. But the point being is that anybody can do this. Like, really. It's not rocket science. It literally is putting one step in front of the other and having women like us come along and mentor and bring the deals, bring the resources, like whatever it is, coming together as a community to help make this happen. So those are my first three books. And then the next ones are about the adoption and all that. So those are coming, which I'm really excited about.
I'm stood here, for people who can't see me on video, I'm stood here with a little grin on my face for the last 5 minutes while Catherine's been talking. Two reasons. One, business isn't learnt. It's developed over time. Two, the lessons that you've learnt, you've applied very, very quickly. But also, you applied them at your lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
And you took self-care, prioritized that for 1 year while you grieved, and you focused on yourself and family. Many people in that similar situation that they have felt that is weighing on them emotionally, mentally, and also physically, they dive into work. You didn't. Can you answer why didn't you? Because you did the opposite of what most people normally do to bury all the shit that's going on and they don't want to feel it. Why did you actually spend time for yourself?
So I knew that the only way around the shit show I just experienced was through it. And I just knew. And I knew it was going to be hard and painful and horrible, but I knew to the core of my being. So, in a proverbial sense, my twins were 14 at the time. I grabbed their hand, so to speak, and we dove hard and deep and fast. And we just went all in. We were in 6 forms of therapy. I went all in because here's the thing. I learned from other women who had been through this. Within days of my husband passing away, I had my best friend actually reach out to several women in my life that unfortunately had lost their husbands and were widows and single moms. And I had her ask one question. If you had to do it all over again, what would you have done differently? Because there's no better people to learn from than people who have been through it. And that's a big thing for me. Who has been through this that they already know how. And every single one of them answered the exact same way.
Hmm.
We wish we had gotten our kids into therapy sooner.
Wow.
Within 6 days, we were in 6 forms of therapy. I didn't question it. I didn't hesitate. I absolutely trusted from their experience that that was what I needed to do. And my kids hated me. They hated it. They hated losing their dad. Like, it got ugly and it got dark and it was painful and it was horrible. I mean, you go back and look at my social media pictures at that time, I'm like, I can't even believe I allowed anybody to take a picture. Like, I was a freaking train wreck. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, we were all train wrecks, but we had to completely have permission to fall apart so that we could come back. And when we came back, like, I felt like my heart at that time was shattered into a billion pieces.
No, I can relate to that.
When it came back together, like, we're just not the same people. you never come back the same people after that. But we had to do the work, right? Like we really had to.
What you're sharing now, Catherine, is a real story. This is what this is all about. And it's not about a judgment. People try and put on this persona bravado for others. Fuck that. Be who you are. You did the honorable thing that most other people couldn't even fathom, but you did the one thing to change it. And you had the courage and sense, inner guidance sense, to ask others, the people who have been there. That I love. And this is one of the qualities I love about you, is because you're able to ask for help. You're not shy. And people who are just starting a business or going through a bereavement or lost a family, friend, whatever the situation is, fucking ask somebody for help. Don't go through it alone.
I feel like people ask the wrong people.
Correct.
Right? Like my family, as much as they wanted to be there for me, they hadn't gone through this. Nobody could guide me through this. The only people that could guide me through this are people who have already walked down that horrible path. So I got really raw and vulnerable and just was scared out of my mind. But knowing that there was just so much more on the other side, and that's what kept pulling me forward.
But that takes a self-awareness. And all this, Catherine mentioned earlier about personal development. It's not hype if you apply it. It is hype if you don't apply it and you have the knowledge. Self-awareness takes resilience, and resilience is built from courage. That is the only way to build resilience. You just don't get resilience, or you don't become resilient. You have to have courage to face things like what Catherine just has, your fears, your deep, darkest secrets. But if you do it alone, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall fast. But what she did differently was ask people who have been there, done it, but she invested that time back into her legacy. At the time, that was her children. And now her children are becoming even more successful because they did the work when they were put in a position with a group of people they felt safe with. They may not have liked it, but it was the best thing for them at the time. If you hadn't have done that, possibly burnout would have happened.
Oh, absolutely.
But let me clarify burnout for a moment, because it's not just fatigue or I'm going to have a bad day and go into addiction. Burnout is chronic fatigue, as in
Which
no
is
sleeping.
exactly what happened. Yeah.
Insomnia, nightmares, flashbacks, borderline CPTSD. All of the buzzwords you hear are actually fucking real.
Yep.
And they don't just happen in a battlefield. They can happen at home, in real life, through different events, because people absorb situations differently.
Yep.
So burnout is a lot of things, and it is a buzzword, but let me be very clear. It's real, and it takes many different forms. All that I've mentioned is literally just the slither of the iceberg. But by seeking help from people that you know, that's what creates the bond longer term. But I want to touch on something you said earlier as well, Catherine. Your business skills are exquisite, but you didn't know what they were to begin with, did you?
No, not at all.
So how did you learn and envelop that knowledge from other people? That's the way you learned it, and doing it yourself and falling and the rest of that jazz we go through. But you've applied it to so much good in the world. There were so many driving forces here. What brought them all together?
So
I knew you were going to laugh, because I went from tears to laughter. That's what I wanted. Thank you.
So here's what's funny about this. So when I was younger, again, I was born to a teenage mother, right? And as a child, those people that are bigger than me occurred as adults, right? I couldn't distinguish between a teenager and an adult, right? Like I was a child.
Mhm.
And I remember, I want to say I was like 6, 7 years old, maybe. And I remember watching, and I've always observed and just really watched people. And I think when you go in and out of more homes than you can count, like it literally was a survival skill, right? Because I had to read people to keep myself, my brother safe. Like there's a lot of protective skills that you start honing. And one of them I distinctly remember was I always thought, oh my God, I never want to grow up because as I get older and grow up, so as a child, the older you get, the more stupid you get. That was my observation and my experience of these people that I had been surrounded by. Was as a child, I could literally see the choices that they were making and the probable predictable future of those choices. Now, I didn't have those words as a kid, right? I just knew, like, wow, you're like really stupid, right? As I got older, obviously, and doing the work, understanding, the dynamics of all the things, that's when I really, I don't know, there's just something inside of me that was like, wait a second. If I can actually learn from other people's stupidity and not have to go down that road and realize that there's another road I could go down, there must be another group of people that I could like learn from to learn about the smart road. So I learn about the stupid road and I learn about the smart road. And that's like, that is a huge part of all of my knowledge and wisdom. Again, it's because of all the extraordinary people around me. Like, it's not me because I'm brilliant. It literally is because I'm insatiably curious and I ask a lot of questions. And I lean in and ask people, like, if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently? What did you do? Like, what do you regret? What made you, succeed? So I asked all the questions. And then from there, my thought is that if success leaves clues, if I do the same, if not similar things that the successful people did and avoid doing the things that the unsuccessful people did, I should, in theory, have a little bit more success in my life than this other group, in theory. And so that's really what I've done.
But that takes, again, it takes courage to learn that. Because a lot of people, including me, I did this. I thought at one point I knew fucking everything and I knew how to do it and I wouldn't listen. But it was one of the worst things I ever did because you get into your ego, you get into the mind state of, I know that, I don't need any help. And you stop asking questions. A very good friend of mine, and I'm going to name him because he's an awesome human being. His name is Dov Baron. And he was the inventor of a concept called the emotional source code. Look him up. He's a human being that I will gladly introduce to anybody. He's been on the podcast before, but his phrase is stay curious. That's all he does. And just like you, Catherine, he's always asking questions,
Yeah.
deeper level questions, deeper insights to that, whatever he's trying to extract for him to learn.
Yep.
Doesn't mean about business. He wants to learn about people, human behavior is his expertise. What he went through, and he shares this on the podcast, was he fell off a cliff, broke his back. He thought his life was done. From that moment, he rebuilt it through the same concept as you're speaking about now, asking questions, gaining the knowledge, understanding, having an inner standing of yourself to then do better in the future. When you talk about emotions and leadership, they combine, but also it creates isolation, or it can create isolation. At any stage in this process, did you feel as if you were like, oh shit, I'm on my own here? Well, and before the people came around you so you could be like that sponge, was there any point of going, oh, I just feel like I'm completely isolated? Because a lot of people do. I'm not saying you have, but that's why I'm asking the question.
It's interesting because I'm like literally in this phase right now. So I'm literally like present to that. I just spent 25 years pouring everything into my family. And my vision for my family was that, I'd be married once for the rest of my life to the same man and that I love deeply. He loves me. And we, raise our kids and our kids go off and they have their families and they come back and, all the beautiful things. And I'm about to turn 50 and I'm completely alone. My husband's gone. Obviously, he's passed away way before I ever imagined, way before he ever imagined. My twins are in their 20s and they need to be off flying on their own. They don't need to be, stuck here. So I'm left like, wait a sec. This did not turn out the way I thought it would. What the what? And so this is where all of the work, right? I understanding that as human beings, separating out my vision for my life versus my picture of my life,
Okay.
right? Picture was that I'd be married the rest of my life to one man and we'd, ride off into the sunset and all the things. The vision is that there's all these other things that I'm out to accomplish in the world. And there's a reason I'm here on this planet. And I really believe it's to get these 350,000 adoptable children adopted. It's to have families have a minimum of 7 streams of passive income. It's like to, be helping these 33,000 first responders and veterans. And there's just so much more. So that's the vision, but the picture definitely got shattered. So it's really important that for me, I have accurate thinking around what the picture was and what the vision was, because if I focus on the picture, I can feel completely alone in so many aspects of my life and like fall into a deep depression, which is why I have to be mindful and hold on to my vision and keep my vision front and center and keep moving towards that and keep building community intentionally, keep building all the things intentionally so that I can fulfill on that. So it's a very fine line and slippery slope that I deal with every day. This isn't like I've got it handled. No, I'm living it right now.
But I love that because you're aware of it. And I'm not going to turn this into a coaching session because I could.
I'm good.
And there's so many layers to this. But what I want people to take away from is the awareness. And she's aware of 2 versions of what's going on. But because Catherine's aware of it, she can now amalgamate them and differentiate between reality and past tense reality. Things that have happened, they're fact, then it's an experience. But what she's doing now is going through the process of that was, now what's now? How do we move forward in the frame of the model I have today? What I'm creating with the veterans, what I'm creating with women and the wealth, what I'm having with my bestsellers and the bestsellers to come. But what you could be aware of as well for these people who are listening now, and if you're not taking notes, please go and fucking take notes because you don't need to. She's reframing burnout. She's reframing the failures and the perceived hiccups or obstacles in her life and gone, I won't be defined by that event. I'm being defined by what I make of it now moving forward. How are you reconnecting with a version of leadership within you? Because that's essentially what you're doing. How are you reconnecting with your own self, the new version of yourself, and leading from that point?
Like, what are my practices?
Yes.
Okay. So, my daily practices that I'm very present to is I call it the good drugs, right? If I can get the endorphins going in my body, then I always feel better. So, first thing in the morning when my brain starts spinning, I get up and I go to the gym and then I do my cold plunge. I do all the things to take care of my body physically, even though I don't really want to. And while I'm doing that, what I've done, and I've done this for years, is I've been doing this for decades. So everybody knows about dream boards and all of that. And so I, decades ago, started writing out my goals in the 5 areas of life: mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual. So I write out those goals. And funny enough, I do it January 1st every year and write out the goals. And then from there, I go and get a really beautiful, like usually 3 foot by 4 foot frame. And then I create a whole collage and turn that into a dream board. Get images and words and everything that represent all those goals. And I create this beautiful collage and then I hang it. So I see it literally every single day, dozens and dozens of time a day. So now I have it in writing, all wrote out. I have it visually as a beautiful collage. But then what I do is I turned it into an incantation that I literally listen to every single morning as I'm doing my cold plunge, as I'm doing my exercises, as I'm like all the things, like literally immersing myself. So I have it, I just put it, there's my incantation, and I'm literally listening to it. It takes 32 minutes, by the way. It's that in depth and that detailed and all about the feelings. So I did this. I've been doing this for decades. So I started out doing it alone. And then when Christopher and I got married, we did it together. And then when the kids came along, we did it with them. And then they did their dream boards. We did as dream boards as a family, but then they became teenagers. So they want to do it alone. Their entire bathroom wall became their dream board, which was really freaking cool. And then, now they're off doing it on their own. And I'm back to, doing dream boards on my own. So it's that being really intentional, because I'm really clear that if I listened to and functioned from my feelings versus what I'm committed to, I could slip into a deep, dark hole pretty damn quick. So
Yeah.
I'm very clear that, again, it all starts with me moving. And when I can get those endorphins going, then along with listening to it, like all of that together, and I keep focusing on what's on the other side of the exercise, of the cold plunge, of listening to it. I know when I can get to that finish line, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can do this.
Well, I love that analogy. Someone once told me, actually, it was 10 minutes before I got married. And I was at a bar in Orcas Island with a very well-known actor. His name is Gerard Butler. And I was privileged to have a conversation with him. And this is a guy who his net worth per year is about 30 million-ish. No, so it's not, just he's got there and that's it. He continuously does what you've just said. But this is the advice he actually gave me. Don't ever think you're at the top of a mountain. Never think you're at the top. Always think you're at the end of a brow and enjoy the journey. Because the moment you think you're at the top of the mountain, there's always somebody willing to knock you off. So I'd always enjoy the journey. And that always resonated with me and stuck with me. It's still to this day. What you're sharing then, Catherine, is the cycle of awareness, of ritual and consistency and discipline. In leadership, that's imperative. Before we depart from part one, I hope you've been listening to this and I hope you've been taking notes. Please like and share and save and change someone's life by sharing this. I really, really encourage you to click on the links below and have a conversation with Catherine and go and get her books, because they'll change your life. But one last question before we put a close to part one. Was there a part in your life where you thought that was it? There was nothing left for you to do anymore in this situation, and then something happened to change it and change it, other than obviously the tragic passing of Christopher? But was there, in a business sense, was there anything that changed that trajectory for you?
Multiple times, multiple things.
I thought so.
Yeah.
What stands out for you? What comes to mind?
The trajectory changed. So we had vacation rentals, a bunch of vacation rentals, and this is after Christopher had passed. And there was this one moment where a guest hadn't left and another guest was checking in. So I get the call that the new guest was at the door and somebody answered the door that shouldn't be there. So I had to go. Like, why hadn't the previous guest move out? Why hadn't the cleaners told me all this? And the people that had been there, their phone was shut off. So I couldn't even get a hold of them. So I physically had to go. And at that point, I had nobody to take care of my kids. And so I just had to bring them along with me. And I had to carry a gun with me. And I myself, as a widow and a single mom with my kids in tow, had to evict somebody holding like packing. And I was like, this isn't it. This is not it. Only to discover they had literally set up a whole brothel and were filming lights, cameras, action. There was a whole porn show going on as I walked in. So that was a moment of like, yeah, I don't do guests in toilets.
No, that makes perfect sense to me now. So if you've just listened to this and you've tuned in and go, what the hell is this all about? Rewind it and listen to the whole version of what has been said. Catherine, I want to thank you very much for being here for part 1. My guests, please like, share, subscribe, share the story, change someone's life. I will see you in part 2 along with Catherine. Remember, burnout isn't a thing that we stay with. It's a choice. The lessons we learn are here to be learned fast, but also learn about others and then pay that information and knowledge forward. Catherine is another guest that just done that, and she continues to do so, inspiring thousands of others with adoptions and veterans and first responders. We're going to get more into this in the second part of it. For myself, thank you very much for tuning in. I love you all, and I'll see you in part 2.